Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Confusing Text in the True Off My Chest subreddit. The post is titled, 15 years ago, my GF and I split up. I handled it the worst way possible. Back in 2006, my high school sweetheart and I split up. We were each other's first love. I handled it the worst way possible. Nearly every day for the past 15 years, I've thought about my abhorrent behavior. It's an understatement that when these memories come to me, I feel tidal waves of regret, shame, guilt, embarrassment, remorse, among other emotions that are difficult to describe. It skitters across the back of my mind and leaves a trail of self-disgust. I feel like such a gigantic piece of crap for it, rightfully so. I can't even reflect on our time together without the inky blackness of what I did casting its shadow. For the past 2 months, she's weighed much more heavily on my mind for some reason. It's like a wet blanket. I don't know why, I don't care. I'd rather not think of her at all. These memories come unbidden. I'm so sick of feeling this way. I'd like to make it right, but I can't nor deserve to. I'm not even sure I would know how to make it right, all things considered. I'm not here to offer excuses. I'm responsible for my behavior. I, 23 at the time, call me C, and my girlfriend from high school, 22 at the time, call her B, moved to the capital of our home state, where the plan was that I would work and support her through law school, then I would go to school for my degree. We had been together for 6 years, and after a few months of living up there while working my butt off at 2 jobs, I figured out that I wanted to ask her to marry me and have some kids together after her degree was finished. She could pursue her career, be a stay-at-home parent, or homeschool. I didn't care. I wouldn't just take care of us. I would make sure we thrived. I can remember being happy at the idea of growing old together. This was a big change in me as neither of us really wanted kids at the time. We were young. I figured out how to make her my North Star, and that changes a young man. Just her presence made me want to have kids when I was against that before the move. I figured this out around my birthday in September 2006. My last hurrah was in October. It was the last time I was going to go out, have some drinks, and put that party part of my life behind me. It was the last chapter before I buckled down, focused on a career, and grew up. I had a really great job in sales for a national computer company, and with enough discipline and focus, anything is possible. The night of my last hurrah, I drove home way too drunk. Any at all is too much, and I don't remember leaving the bar. I ended up flipping my car without hurting anyone, but I did get arrested and totaled the car. I thank the Lord nearly every day that I didn't hurt anyone that night. It came at a cost though. It was the straw that broke her back. It was my last chance, and maybe neither of us knew it. But she was done. Checked out on me and my BS. I wasn't a great boyfriend, but I had my moments and I did try. My biggest issue was an anger problem. It didn't present as much in violence, but in words. When I got pissed off, I'd get white hot and say despicably horrible things. Many of the connections that I made about how I made her feel inadequate didn't come until after I got help. Growing up with a schizophrenic mother and a stepdad who didn't want to be there, that was the way they showed each other attention. His dating advice was don't get married and don't have kids. Both of them made me feel like I got in the way of their happiness. I also did a good job of making her feel inadequate with an addiction to porn. I think the addiction stems from the following. I was molested at a young age by an older female neighbor. At 12, I found out my dad is actually my stepdad and my real biological father wants nothing to do with me. I started drinking whiskey at 13 and smoking weed at 15. My dad had a subscription to Playboy growing up, so was normal, and I didn't think it was a big deal. I saw it as a tool to get off quickly when my dick was screaming at me and she wasn't there or in the mood. I just didn't understand how it wrecked my psychology and must have hers too. Even if she wasn't directly aware of the amount of I looked at, the effects on me affected her due to our relationship. It's easy to see how my personality had all these rough edges and sharp corners. A kid that starts drinking at 13 didn't come up in a great household. I tried to be great, but fell short for many reasons that I didn't understand back then. So there I was at the height of feeling the best ever. For the first time in my life, I had a real purpose. Before, it was sensation and pleasure seeking, but now I wanted things that were beyond my selfish worship of pleasure. I found myself tired of porn and jerking off. I got the DUI for flipping the car. 2 weeks later, she dumped me. Talk about a rug pull. The light left my life, and all that was left around me was darkness. My descent to rock bottom was fast. Dealing with depression and loneliness, I found myself unable to keep the best job I had ever had. I couldn't focus. I was unmotivated. I was hurting constantly. I can remember spending hours sitting in the shower with the lights off, drinking whiskey. The interlock device I had installed in my car as a condition of my suspended license due to the DUI definitely saved my life and probably someone else's. I've never experienced pain like that before or since. I've had a testicular torsion and passed 2 kidney stones since then. These fires of this pain make those seem like candlelight. My central nervous system was on fire. Relative to how I ended up, I was doing okay. I ended up living with a buddy from high school who also happened to move up there before I ever did. She and I were still on speaking terms, but the days between conversations were getting more and more. It was a few weeks of deep depression, alcohol, and weed. I lost 30 pounds. I truly stopped caring. Then in 2007, one of her friends, call her K, reached out to me to inform me that my now ex was seeing someone. Call him S. He was in her study group and that they had messed around while she and I were together. Other details were shared, but I don't really want to go through them right now. If I thought I was broken before, this shattered me into a million little pieces and left behind a monster of hatred and wrath. Whatever I thought I had now disintegrated. I had met him and dropped her off at study groups. I picked her up from social parties at his place. How could I have been so blind? Much later on in life, I figured out that my playing video games, getting caught jerking off, and the DUI made her check out and she decided she was going to leave me. She didn't want to be with a 24-year-old that was acting like a 13-year-old. She just didn't tell me she was dumping me before she slept with that guy. I gave her the room to cheat and then started to push her towards him. I started experiencing real mental health issues. It's not an excuse. I'm responsible for my conduct. I knew it was wrong, I just didn't care. When one doesn't feel like they have a future, the present really doesn't matter anymore. I should have sought help first. I thought I could read her emotions, that she was confused and hurt and that she needed me near. That's when the stalking started, and it was those kinds of thoughts that informed and escalated my behavior. She moved into a house when we split up and then moved in with that guy very quickly. It hurts to type this. The pain starts at my navel and spreads out till it gets caught in my throat. I knew where he lived and started breaking her car windows and slashing tires whenever I saw her car there. I wanted to get his tires too, but on the night I went to do that, there was her car and 5 other cars. Another party. I didn't know which car was his, so I popped all 6 sets of car tires. I don't write any of this with pride. I feel such large amounts of shame now that it's hard to believe I could ever justify the behavior. I'm such a piece of crap. None of them, especially her, deserved that. She deserved a clean break, and I was too weak to give that to her. I hurt others that had nothing to do with it. A few days after slashing all those tires, a sheriff showed up at my door to serve me a protective order. That escalated me even further. Whatever hope I had that we might speak again was gone. Maybe that's what I wanted. I don't really know. The court date was a few weeks away and I was still hurting more and more. Thinking about her stepping outside of our relationship and dating someone so close to our breakup just gutted me. I felt like less than nothing. Whatever boy I was died in those few weeks. I decided I had enough hurting. My mental health crisis was about to become a tragedy. As I write this, my skin has goosebumps all over so hard they hurt. I remember opening the door to my roommate's room very clearly. I knew he had a weapon. He was at work, and as far as I was concerned, this was my and a couple of others' last day on Earth. Before I stepped in, my vision got blurry and I felt resistance to going in. A voice, like a shot from outer space, screamed to stop and shut the door. I felt cotton all around me. I wanted to go through but couldn't. I closed the door and cried for hours. After closing my roommate's door and later that night, I decided to go see what they were up to. While driving, the voice came back but more clearly this time. In what world is this behavior acceptable? I was stuck. I didn't have an answer, which was the correct answer. I made the nearest U-turn and went back home. That was the last time I ever stalked or did anything like that. I've never had the feeling or desire to do that since. Not even close. Was it my guardian angel? I have no idea. I'm thankful for that voice. Never heard it since. I just wish I never answered her friend's messages. I wish I had conducted myself better in spite of it. The court date comes. I don't remember much. She said I did some stuff I don't remember doing. I didn't care. I probably mumbled some BS. The judge rightfully granted the PO for a year. I moved back to our hometown 2 days after that. I couldn't stomach it. I was tired of feeling like this and there wasn't anything up there for me anymore anyway. I just wanted to go away and die. She probably felt the same way about me. Who could blame her? After that first year, I stopped finding ways to justify my behavior, and that's when the shame, guilt, embarrassment, remorse, and everything else came seeping in. I wanted to be free from it, so I started being honest with those that knew the both of us. I used to lie and say she lied about me to date him. I doubt anyone believed me anyway. I'm not free from it, but bearing the load got slightly easier. During the next few years, I had trouble keeping a job. I think I had 10 jobs in those 2 years before figuring it out. These are the signs of someone struggling with their mental health. And so, to this day, I still am racked by guilt from my weak, spineless, evil behavior. It's like a form of self-torture. Unconditional love is only painful when it's unreciprocated. It means you love someone without condition. You love someone knowing you'll never get it back. The only thing I can do is just be okay with that feeling. I have to live with it. Occasionally, I get flashes of what feels like memories from the life we might have had we stayed together. I know how that sounds, but it's mundane stuff, like walking through the rough-in of a house we're building, sitting in doctor's offices, waiting on appointments, spending Sunday afternoons together after church, walking into the front door from work and asking about her day, stuff like that. I don't want to think of these things. I don't want to think of her at all, but these weird flashes do show up from time to time. I'll be washing dishes or something and bam, one of those weird flashes will come up. I hate it. Occasionally, I'll dream of her. The dreams are never sexual or violent, more of the mundane stuff, just surrealistic. I can remember the way her hair smelled, the way her mouth would curl up before bursting into laughter at my silly sense of humor. Everything is so damn vivid. The end of the dreams always cripples me when she tells me she's sleeping around on me and I wake up confused and hurt again. When I consider the terror, paranoia, and fear for her safety that my actions must have caused, then it feels like I deserve this internal torture. I made someone that I cherished fear for their safety. I'll never escape it. I don't deserve to. I hate that I hurt those strangers at that party. I hate that I hurt someone so badly, let alone one I loved so much. I see my sons and hope they'll grow to be better men earlier than I was, that my daughter won't meet a guy like I briefly turned into. If anyone did to her what I did to my ex, I'd want to kill them. I'd slap the crap out of my boys if they ever did something like that too. I wish I could give a heartfelt, humble apology to her and offer financial restitution. Nothing can ever really be enough though. I'm so sorry it hurts my scalp. Vandalizing the property wasn't the worst, it had to be the fear my actions instilled. I hope that when she visits family here that she doesn't worry about me seeking her out. I'm so far removed from that night that it feels like someone else did it. But no, it's me. It'll always have been me. I have friends that got to reunite with their first love, as in have some coffee, catch up, and reminisce. I wish I could have that. I took that away from me. I wish I could tell her how sorry I am. From my heart to my mind to my soul to every atom in my body, I am incredibly sorry. I would apologize without seeking her forgiveness. I believe that I do not deserve her forgiveness. Mostly, I just want to ease the hate she must feel for me. She must absolutely despise me. She truly doesn't need to worry about recurrence. That's a heavy burden to bear, and I'm sorry I ever put that into her heart. I'm so sorry, B. I swear I never wanted to hurt you. It's hard to bear that I did end up hurting you anyway. I cherished you, I just didn't know how to show it. I'll never be rid of this U-shaped hole in my heart. It was my hand that made this scar. I'm so sorry for what I did to you and those around you. TLDR, girlfriend and I broke up a long time ago. I turned into a creep. I'm over her, but I still feel like crap about my behavior when we split. Edit, from the beginning of stalking to Sheriff was about 2 to 3 weeks. I've gotten over her and the relationship about 2 years after it ended. I used the language to describe how I felt about her at the time and not today. I still feel like crap about my behavior because of the amount of trauma it must have caused. No, I'll never reach out to her to apologize. Doing that would probably cause more trauma than the apology could ever heal. The best way to apologize is to keep away, as I have been. So initially I was thinking having these issues that OP is describing is fine in itself just so long as you are trying to get help in fixing them, but that doesn't seem to be happening. And I'm not sure if I missed something, but it seems like OP didn't share any moments of the two trying to talk about the issues at hand. It seemed like all of this drama was just brewing in silence, but everyone knew they were there. And for whatever reason, the couple never actually sat down to discuss a plan of attack. I don't really blame OP's ex for dumping him. Just as OP said, he seemed to fill his life with video games, masturbation, and porn, and just a lack of care. And of course, there were the anger issues he said he has. However, I don't like the fact that OP's ex was messing around with this other guy while still being with OP. If she didn't like his lifestyle choices, then she should have broken off the relationship immediately, rather than juggling OP and this other guy on the off chance that OP gets his shit together. Overall, just a mess of a situation. I understand that OP's upbringing was terrible, but at some point he needs to be called out and pushed into therapy. It seems that he lacked exactly this in his life, someone to tell him that he not only has issues but needs help. His GF knew of the issues, but based on what OP shared, she seemed to not care enough to where she would help him. But that's not to excuse OP's actions later on in the story. The stuff he did is not okay, and I'm glad he realized he was taking it too far. Hopefully, OP is now taking the steps needed to become a healthier version of himself. User Saturn Ife said, "It took a long time for me to figure out what living in the past actually means. This is what you are doing. Your trauma is so visceral that mentally you are back to that place like a living memory. Your brain has no distinction between reality and memory and reacts like everything is happening again. I also struggle with this, replaying stupid things I did and thought and ways I acted like a movie reel of self-torture. Look at what a clown I was, over and over. Affirm with yourself whenever these thoughts come up that the person you were is not who you are now. Stop swirling down the drain of self-flagellation. Create new neural pathways that actually benefit you. It's so hard, but you've already come so far from who you were at that time. You are more than capable of consciously changing for your own relief from this torture. I'm telling myself this too. Forgive yourself. You were just a hurt person who made some bad decisions. You are not some special breed of irredeemable fuck-up. Sometimes we have to do these things and make these mistakes to uncover who we really want to be." User T-Mink said, "I think in this case, writing about it is spectacular. Writing to her about it is not wise. I don't think you are going to be friends that have coffee. I would not try. I think you made her life difficult after the breakup. I am sorry all that happened to you. I would keep working on yourself and start dating again. I had someone I loved early in my sobriety, and just when I figured out I needed to grow up around my finances, they had enough of me. I felt similar to what you did, except I was more on the depressive side. I sat in meetings for 6 months in sweats. He moved away to be an actor. I also had meetings, a sponsor, and therapy to work through it. I would stay out of her life and make something wonderful out of yours. Learn from it, pray for forgiveness, and move on. Thank you for sharing that story. I resonated with it a lot." User Jaw Balls said, "It's time to forgive yourself. You've served 15 years in a personal prison. Take a deep breath and let go. Be a different person built on different foundations, those intrusive memories and thoughts. Trauma. You're still carrying the emotional wounds, and it's time to address them. This post may be a step in the right direction. Yes, you were a piece of shit, but that's okay. You recognize it. It's not healthy to form your identity around another person. You need to work on accepting yourself. Everyone else has moved on with their lives. Guilt, shame, and anxiety are healthy if you're not living your life in the right way. Take a look at your life now and decide if any of this still serves you." User Sandy said, "I don't mean this harshly, but the fact that you're still this invested makes me think you still have serious issues to work on. I can relate to the upbringing and doing things one isn't proud of, but the fact that this is what you think about, I'm wondering if it is a bit obsessive." User Sun Zealous Ideal said, "This entire post screams PTSD. You live in a state of hypervigilance because of this, and your self-destructive behavior was a combination of self-soothing and fight or flight response. I'm glad that you're better now, but I think you need to let go of the past. You already learned the lesson 15 years ago. No need to keep tormenting yourself. The torment causes the bad behavior. Something I notice about trauma survivors is that they live as if they're stuck in the past. It's not really helping them to live this way, especially because their capacity to pick up on patterns of behavior is so sharp. If you have the ability to sincerely apologize, give it a shot. Remember, it's not about you, it's about her. She can block, delete, door slam, tell you to F off if she wants. Apologies can still be cathartic regardless. This cannot be the be-all and end-all though. You have to teach yourself to live in the here and now and enjoy it. It's not an excruciating or tormenting experience. All you can do is to be a good person to others now. Raise your sons to be good, ethical men. Raise your daughter to see the signs of abuse and avoid such men. This next story was made in the True Off My Chest subreddit by a user named Maximum Moose. The post is titled, "I won the lottery and it ruined my relationship with my BF and my family. I never thought winning the lottery would be anything other than a dream come true. But here I am with more money than I ever imagined and it feels like my life is falling apart. A few months ago, I bought a lottery ticket on a whim. I almost forgot about it until I saw the numbers on the news. I couldn't believe my eyes. I had won $600K. At first, I was in shock. I called my boyfriend Jay and he rushed over, equally ecstatic. We were both over the moon, dreaming of what we could do with the money. But the dream quickly turned into a nightmare. It started with Jay. He began making plans for the money without really consulting me. He wanted to quit his job immediately, buy a luxury car, and invest in risky ventures. When I suggested we take things slow and maybe talk to a financial advisor, he got defensive. He accused me of not trusting him and said I was trying to control everything. Then my family got involved. My parents, who I've always had a strained relationship with, suddenly wanted to reconnect. They started dropping hints about their financial struggles and how they could use some help. My sister, who's always been jealous of me, outright demanded a share, saying she deserved it for all the time she supported me. It felt like they were all looking at me differently, like I was just a bank to them now. Jay became more distant and started spending a lot of time with his friends. He'd come home late, smelling of alcohol, and we'd argue about his spending habits and his new friends who seemed to only care about our money. The final straw came when he suggested we invest a large sum into a business venture his friend was starting. I said no, wanting to be cautious, and he exploded. He accused me of being selfish and not believing in him. The argument was so intense that he stormed out and didn't come back for days. During that time, my family's demands became more aggressive. My parents hinted that they were entitled to the money because they raised me. My sister called me greedy and accused me of abandoning my family. I felt trapped and overwhelmed, unable to make anyone happy. When Jay finally returned, we had a long, painful conversation. I realized that our relationship had become toxic, revolving around money rather than love and mutual respect. We decided to break up. He moved out, taking some money with him as a parting gift, and I felt a mix of relief and sadness. Now I'm alone with my fortune, but I've never felt poorer. My family is barely speaking to me, and I've lost someone I thought I'd spend my life with. I've hired a financial advisor and a therapist to help me navigate this new reality, but the emotional toll is immense. Winning the lottery was supposed to be a blessing, but it turned into a curse. I wish I could go back to the way things were before, when life was simpler and relationships were genuine. I just needed to get this off my chest. User Boss Odd said, "Money changes things often in ways we don't expect. It's a tough lesson, but now you know who truly has your back. Focus on protecting your mental health and finding real connections that aren't driven by money." User Horizon said, "You got the blessing of realizing who the people in your life truly were. 600,000 is not something to sneeze at, but after all the inflation, it's not the life-changing kind of money it used to be. I wouldn't even call it a fortune anymore. Pay off some debts, treat yourself to something that isn't going to continuously drain your money, and invest in yourself." User Millionaire said, "This is why you don't tell people you've won the lottery. Even friends and family can fall apart when it comes to money." User OK Introduction said, "Your boyfriend showed you he is not intelligent. 600K is a lot of money, but not enough to squander on risky investments and expensive depreciating luxury items. He is controlling and entitled. Who the fuck does he think he is telling you what to do with your money? Losing him is a blessing in disguise. You would have lost all that money so quickly it would have made your head spin if he stuck around. You're a better person than me for giving him any of it at all when you parted ways. As for your family, go no contact. People who don't care for you when you have nothing but show up when you're doing well are not good people. Now that you have 6 figures, invest in yourself. Take classes, join hobby groups, vacation groups, travel, make new friends. Do things to put yourself out there. Maybe start a little business or invest in a small property. Do things to enjoy life and surround yourself with people who love you. Good luck."